MMA Roadshow, episode number 559. My name is John Morgan, and Cold Coffee is with me. And Cold Coffee might need you to break out them musical skills. I know you got them jazz hands, you got that theater background. We gotta get a little Boys to Men harmony. Although we've come to the end of the road. Girl, you know it's the end.
Damn, that's the best part. But
that is the best part.
I think your voice definitely pumps me on that one.
It's the end of the road. I know we kind of celebrated last week as the final pay-per-view of the ESPN era, but now it is the end of the ESPN era.
Officially, and then.
By the way, it was kind of funny last week, right? At the end of the press conference, did you catch that when Dana was like, "All right, guys, everybody have a great holiday," and he was like, "Oh, wait, I'll see you next week," and I was like, "Will you though?
Yeah.
Will you?"
You don't think he's going to show up?
You don't think he's going to? I mean, he'll be at the Apex.
He's a huge Manel Cop fan.
Oh, no, he's going to be at the Apex.
Or Manel Cape, as Royval would not stop calling him.
He has to call him the wrong. Is he doing that disrespect on purpose?
Well, that's the thing. When he was during the week, he was like, whatever, I don't really like this guy. But I was like, is there real beef? He's like, I wouldn't say there's beef. I just, whatever. I was like, but you're like I made sure to say cop back to him, and he kept
purposely saying it wrong.
Yeah, he's definitely saying it wrong. But I'm just like, what is this going
they're
on?
Two. I mean, I get that they are two like very different people, and they're two very strong, bold personalities. Like Manel, I like Manel. Manel is the coolest guy. Like I think he's got swagger. I think he's funny. I think he's cool. But like if he was your opponent or somebody in your division, even if you weren't fighting him, I could see how you'd hate his guts, right? Because he's just like, he's Starboy.
And he's going to talk shit about you.
He's going to talk.
Regardless. And I don't even think it's necessarily even he believes it. He's just like, I'm just going to talk shit about you.
Right, yeah.
He's just going to get in your head.
He doesn't even necessarily dislike you. He just knows that, like, I'm going to talk about you. I'm going to make you feel bad. Yeah.
I mean, and they got to be sick of seeing each other's name across the bout sheet, even though it's kind of funny that I don't know if it was Royval that said it or Cop that said it. Or Cape, if you will, said that we're 1-1. Now we're gonna settle this because they both had their own injuries.
To withdraw from the,
so
that is pretty funny.
Yeah, I can't remember. Maybe it was Royval or whatever that said it, but he was really. They were both in great spirits yesterday. But yeah,
I love.
As for if Dana's gonna be there, I think Dana's been kind of. I mean, he supports his fighters. I'm sure people are like, does he? But what I think these are two of his favorites that he's like, I'm going to get out of the house and I have to go to the Apex. Maybe not, but if it's the last event of the year and he loves fights, I mean, like,
I think he'll be there.
I think he'll be there.
He'll be there, and he'll do like he does. Obviously, he has his very nice office. I mean, we've seen it. Like, I mean, there's no reason for him to become cage side. To be honest with you, whether it's at the Apex or at the UFC headquarters, he's got 2 viewing rooms in each property that honestly are a much better experience than even being cage side. And he's got the bat phone right there, right? In both situations, he can just pick up the phone. He's got a direct line to the truck for anything he sees. So he doesn't have to be cage side for anything. But I think he'll be there. But what I don't think he's sticking around to talk to the media after. That's why he was like, I'll see you guys next week. I'm like, maybe from a distance.
From a distance.
Like, oh, there's the media over there.
Did you know that there was that hospitality suite or whatever in the back room? Because I don't get to go back there. But when they did that little food meal thing the other day that I skipped out on, when they took us back, so they took us back like what would be that normal, used to be back in the day when we had like the COVID stuff back, there was just a lot of storage open space. But when they did that food meal prep thing the other day, we walked back like we were going towards that area where the normal arena area is, but there was another building or another room on the inside, and it was like this hospitality suite.
Yeah, they have it branded, right?
It's branded.
Yep.
But like the VIP during like the Apex events, the VIP space is in the old space, the old hallway, like up front. I'm like, what do they use this other room for? So I'm interested to see whatever they're going to use it. But it was the first time in that room. I'm like, what the heck is this room? This branded hospitality room. Like, what happens here?
I haven't seen it yet since they've had all the redesign. Like I have, because I've gotten to go on a couple of occasions to go just as a fan and hang out. And I've been in the old VIP area,
which was just a roped off stanchioned area, wasn't it?
No, they had like a little. It was like temporary structures or whatever. You had like it made it feel like a room, even though it wasn't a room. You had like the high curtains and stuff like that, so it felt like a room even though it wasn't.
Yeah. But no, this is definitely like a room.
I'm anxious. Look,
I did hear more about some of the seats and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'm anxious
to see
a
little bit about that yesterday with an anonymous source about some of the stuff. But when it's all said and done, 1,200 is what they're aiming for. 1,200 seats.
I heard 1,000.
So the bleachers are going to be permanent structures, not in the room, but permanently built. So then they're just going to roll into that back space, and then they're just going to slide them into that room and then do it because they still need that room to be modular,
right?
For whatever they want to set up in their concerts,
skateboarding events. Yeah.
Didn't they do a dirt fucking truck thing or something? They did something in there once. I remember that maybe it was, I don't know, some bikes or something. Trucks doesn't make any sense. There's not enough room, but. Yeah, so the seats 1,200 is what they're aiming for, and I think January, because I was teasing, I was like, are we finally going to? Dana said by the end of this year we're going to get the concessions, and I was like, when's the concessions? And I know they're still testing some stuff, but more than likely it's going to be in January when that is. But 1,200, so over at least 1,000.
I'm excited
1,200 to say, but that might be 1,000 seats and 200 staffers or whatever, but that room occupancy is going to be
rated for 1,200,
which even now it says it's like 300 or something. So they've blown over that, regardless. But it was always about the water closets. It was about the
water closet, sir. Yeah. Did you just fly over from Europe for today's presentation?
Did.
Fine, sir.
But it's so funny when I thought about that when I first. Was trying to research this thing, and it was like, oh, water closet. I was like, what the heck's a water closet? It's, well, when they actually have the toilet and you can have a closing door. And then in my head, I was like, Europe, the WC. That means water closet. I was like, I was like, mind blown. I was like, I had this huge epiphany, but I literally I was just beside myself for a moment.
I was today years old when
I should have put that meme. I was today years old when I figured out what the hell WC meant.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But yeah, so we should see hopefully in January. I think they are testing out stuff when it comes to like concessions, what they want to do. So who knows what the little stuff, and it's all silly like that. That's even the discussion. But when you're thinking about when you're going to a venue, if you really want to be considered a venue that, let alone that you want to rent out and sell to people,
yes,
you want to have the proper capabilities. So like if they have the means to where they can have the fried stuff, the pizzas, the hot dogs, obviously, and all those little other things. But what about draft beers, all these other little things you don't really think about. They have, they've had, when they do a lot of the things now, they set up and they have like a liquor station.
Yep.
That's easy. That's just a bottle. But you're not running lines for beverages and CO2 and all the other sort of stuff. So, it'd be interesting to see whatever sort of happens. I know they're going to have the acai truck there tonight for the BJJ.
Is that right?
Talk about that because we saw them pulled up yesterday, and everybody in the media was like, why is there an acai truck out front today? And we're like, because tomorrow's BJJ.
They always have the acai in there.
So yeah, it'll be interesting. But yeah, it looks like January. I was hoping we get to see it before the end of the year, so we just had, one final dirt update, but it doesn't seem like that. But I guess it's still a dirt update.
Look, I'm excited to see it. I really am, because I think this is the vision that was presented to us from the very beginning when they built it.
Years and years ago.
You know what I mean? That's what they said this was going to be, and it never ended up being that. And so now we're finally going to get to see it. And again, I know we're in the minority that, we're not Apex detractors, and we admit it's kind of selfishly because it's extremely close for both of us. It makes life easy for us.
I won't lie about that at all.
100%. So, but I'm hoping that this will, give a better presentation on the TV and make people like the Apex events a little bit more. I will say I do still think what matters also is not just the facility, but also who the fans are that are in there. Like, how is the pricing set up? Who is actually obtaining access to this?
Yep.
Because if it's the real fan, dude, if it's a real fan, like the hardcore fan that comes to the weigh-ins, that, watches the press conferences, that wants to take a picture with John Morgan because you love MMA so much, you know who the media people are.
Yeah.
Like, if they're priced reasonably and they get to come in and experience what we get to experience, which is to be that close to everybody, to hear every sound, they're going to love it. Like, their 100%. Opinion on the Apex is going to change 1,000,000% over.
Yeah. I can only imagine what 1,000 bodies in that room would sound like. It would be it's going to be bonkers.
Yep.
Like, I remember watching the NXT feeling like the energy in that room was crazy. So to think about having actual live fans that are actually actively cheering, because even the NXT people were just like getting into it, but it wasn't like everybody understands it's a work,
right?
But like to actually see a real competitive sport that intimately, but with 1,000 folks getting caught up in that whole emotion, like. It's amazing in an arena with 18,000 people, and you're not even that close to everybody.
Right.
You're sort of separated by, half an acre of property. But when you get in there and you're that upon each other, it's got to be just multiplied. It's got to be exponentially that much more intense.
One of the best, and there's been a couple times in there where it got pretty rowdy and you felt it and it felt good. But I remember one of the best kind of overall days was when the Vanderbilt baseball team was there.
Yeah.
And it was. I mean, that's only like 20 guys or whatever. But they were they were rowdy. They were cheering everything, and it just made it feel good. Because, like I said, I think that's a big problem with the Apex is most of the people that are in there are either VIP ballers to the point that they paid like $2,000 a ticket, or they're VIP ballers to the point that they got a VIP pass for free, and they don't want to act a fool because they're somebody's guest. So they're being very polite and restrained, and you get rowdy fans in there, it's gonna change the feel of that building.
I mean, you put a power slap crowd in there, it's gonna be bonkers.
You're 100% right.
I mean, that's what it's gonna be like because the power slap, they're all wasted. Half the people that are there are drunk and they're just getting into it and they're literally on top of the action. Like, why would you not want to be there? But you got to price it right.
You're spot on with that though, because now power slap is over at Fontainebleau, but the events that were at the Apex
were bonkers.
Parties.
Yes,
they were just parties. Yep. So. I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be crazy, but you're right. They need to price it so that you don't want to price it that you get the same people every week and you're not able to expand because the tickets sell out in an hour.
Right.
You got to make it somewhat exclusive, but you can't expect everybody to pay VIP prices like they're paying now, or you're never going to. It's not going to be attainable for everybody. You're going to have a room with halfway full every time. But if you find a nice price point, I think anywhere between 100 to maybe 300.
In my head, I was going to ask you what you're thinking. I was thinking like 150, 200. Like that's fair, right? Because 150, 200, like
anything below 100, people
they're going to be gone immediately.
Immediately.
Yeah.
But I think if you get a decent, and there's not going to be a back seat in the house.
No.
There's no floor seating, which is the ones there are some, but those are usually like the close people. You wouldn't want those anyways. Let somebody else pay this because those would suck. But the risers and the bleachers, holy cow, there's not a bad seat in the house. I mean, it's unreal. But yeah,
and the fighters are walking right. Fighters are walking right by you. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're getting real close. Like people always enjoy like in the big arenas if they get those fighter walk tickets because they're cool because you're right on it. You're basically a fighter walk ticket anywhere you go.
Everywhere.
You know what I mean?
Everywhere. Yeah, I would think 100, 150 to. I can see them saying 500 would be probably their thing. They want to have some sort of whatever.
It's true.
Whether they want to still try to do $1,000 for a floor seat, maybe somebody would. And in this, you actually feel like you're intimately like 1,000 in an arena for a floor seat. Like just don't do it. It's not. You're not going to get what you're going to feel. Whereas here. You're going to feel immensely close. You're going to feel like I can smell that fighter that just walked past me. Like you're that close. It's unreal. But yeah, I think if they priced it right, it's attainable where somebody says, I'm a big fan. I want to introduce this to my kid, and have them take it. You're going to find a lifelong fan.
Yes.
They're going to have an experience that they're going to be changed. And they're going to be like, and I guarantee folks that shit on the Apex before experience an Apex. It's the people that shit on the Apex that have never actually been to an Apex show.
100%.
And when they get there and they actually feel it, let alone when it gets in there and you have 1,000 other people, I think you feel that right now. But you're correct where I think a lot of people, you'll hear the family members that can't control themselves that will yell, but everybody else is kind of like, wow, somebody kind of hooked me up with this ticket. That's how I'm here. I know somebody.
Yep.
I'm not going to act crazy. I don't want to
offend anybody and act crazy.
But if you pay and you're paying your hard-earned money and you're having drinks from the concession stand, you got a nice little buzz on, you're going to be yelling, and it's going to be absolutely bonkers in that space, dude.
Be nuts.
It's going to be fucking crazy.
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. It is even. I will say, like even the exterior changes that they've done. It feels cooler walking up now that you got the proper box office, you got the artwork on the screens, you got the music playing outside.
It looks cool.
It's before it felt like you were pulling up into the parking lot of a warehouse that had been converted into an arena, which it was. It was Scientific Games warehouse. They manufactured slot machines there. It was just a huge warehouse is all it was.
Yep.
And it felt like that.
Yep.
Now with the exterior, like you feel like you're at a spot.
Even when you go through the lobby, the new lobby space and all the nice doors and stuff, like, bro, it is a nice looking building.
Yep.
Like on the inside, it's crazy. But yeah, my phone keeps reminding me all the time, all the pictures I've taken over these now, I guess, couple years of all the dirt stuff, and then the what it looks like now. I remember, even though we've watched this whole process, I don't think any of us knew, exactly what it was going to look like. Right. And they actually beat my expectations on
I agree.
What the outside facade, and let alone what that front entry space for somebody that's coming as a fan to walk through. Fantastic. And even as ridiculous as it sounds, the bathrooms and all the new stuff that they built, they're nice.
It's okay.
It's a nice building.
It's a silly thing. But you're 100% right, because we've been used to that. The bathrooms that were in there, and they have others for like staff and stuff, but the ones that we had access to were like an office bathroom that had like one stall, one urinal, and when you take as many dudes over the course of a night, like, let's just be honest, even though the staff worked hard to keep it clean, it's a lot of people repeatedly going to the bathroom, and by the end of the night,
on the floor, a lot of
by the end of the night, it wasn't the most pleasant place. The other day when I was there for the official weigh-ins last week, I had to run to the restroom before I left, and I will say, and I went to the new ones, and I will say, I kind of paused a little bit. I was like, damn. It's nice.
It's ridiculous, dude. I have had that thought multiple times.
Now it's like a Vegas casino. It's a Vegas casino bathroom.
It's that level.
You know what I mean?
Yep. It's so funny.
Yeah, but I had that same thought. It is kind of funny.
It's ridiculous.
Pleasant restroom in here. This is nice.
Like, smells fine. Oh, good. Like, what's going on?
All right. Well,
I've had multiple pictures on my phone.
Okay, I stopped there.
It's funny. I try to justify, saying, well, I was showing the expansions, but I was like, why do you still have it on your phone, though? Why have I gotten a reminder that says, remember this day? I was like, that's the Apex bathroom.
I just switched my phone to I just upgraded to the 17. Sorry, that is the iPhone 17.
Is that an iPhone? What language is that?
You don't know what version we're on over here in our Apple world, sir. So the iPhone is up to the number 17 at this point.
Is it 18 released this year?
Probably. So anyway, I just upgraded, and it was funny because as I was switching everything over, like I was seeing like how many like photos and videos, like all those videos I have of like over the years of like just that I shoot fighters walking by.
Yeah.
Like I probably need to delete a lot of those, but like I feel kind of weird doing it too. Like it is like how do I decide? You're not relevant. Delete. I mean, I don't know. You know,
throw it up on YouTube or throw it on like a Google Drive or something, like some of those free Google Drives, because they are unique and they are cool. I mean, like it's a piece of history, and it's kind of something neat that when the day has come and you're looking back on your time in the sport, that's going to be one of those things I think that you would be like, I'm glad I kept that sort of thing. So yeah, we should find you some external storage or something, or put it on the old Roadshow Shorts channel or something, and just create a playlist of just like walkouts or walkbacks or walk of shame or walk of shame.
By the way, I never video anybody that has lost. I mean, I would say.
No, I bet there's been some
there's some that was probably a controversial split decision or something like that. But I don't,
because I know fighters have came up to you before when you've done stuff, because you've seen them talking, and I feel like maybe somebody on some.
But as a rule, you're right. I would to say that I've never done it.
Yeah.
But as a rule, I don't stick a camera in the face of somebody that lost.
Yeah.
Like I know that they're having their worst moment, and the last thing that I need to do is like, let me capture your worst moment of your life right here for the audience to see. So
because how the fuck are you gonna capture it just like that? Like, how the fuck can you caption that without sounding like an absolute POS?
Yeah,
come on.
All right, listen, lots going on this weekend. The UFC event, as we said, end of an era. 5-week break coming up, which
I thought you were going to go back in the end of the road.
God, yeah, thought. 5-week break coming up, which, by the way, I was thinking about this actually as I was driving over here. The fights that are going to come together afterwards, it's going to be hot and heavy, because we're actually seeing the same thing at CFSC, obviously at a much smaller scale, but we're actually taking January off as well because we were kind of programming things for next year.
Go.
And it's like everybody on the roster is like, book me, book me, book me, book me. I was like, the UFC athletes are getting the same thing. They're like, book me, book me. So it's going to be good. So we're going to have that 5-week break, and it's going to be awesome. But we got UFC. We got UFC BJJ tonight, which I know by the time most people listen to this may be happening or already over, but I'm looking forward to it. It's a fun card. You got to see a couple of the people at the media day, but there's actually a really, really fun card. And there's a big PFL event as well. And I would say, to be honest with you, you could make the argument that the PFL event is the event of the weekend, even out of the UFC and UFC BJJ as well. You got the heavyweight world title between Nemkov and Fajeda. You got Cyborg and Collins and the women's featherweight world title as well. So I mean, it's two titles on the line. Number one, Chris Cyborg, of course, the legend that she is. In her final year of competition.
Yep.
Anytime I think you and I are both in the same boat. Like anytime you get a chance to watch Cyborg fight, no disrespect to Sarah Collins, but it doesn't matter if it was Sarah Collins or Sarah Smith or Sarah James and again, I don't want to be disrespectful because Sarah Collins believes she's coming in to shock the world and she's gonna ruin it. But I'm just saying that I'm going to tune in to watch Cyborg compete no matter what because she is one of the greatest ever, if not the greatest ever. So anyway, could make the argument it's the biggest event of the weekend. And
I would say BJJ4's got 3 belts on the line.
I know, and the BJJ.
But you're right, PFL in terms of like the star power at the top of the card.
The BJJ card, we'll talk about that too. But you got the Tackett's, you got Bellamere on there, which is anytime you get to see Bell is another person that like
there are 2 inaugural belts. William Tackett is going for the inaugural middleweight, and then Canuto is for the inaugural women's featherweight.
Yep.
Even though and it's funny because even up when she was up there, she's like, bring us a 35 belt. So she's clamoring for it. So it's kind of interesting to see. But yeah, three belts and 2 of them are brand new ones, man. They're trying to do their thing.
Are the belts growing on you, by the way?
They're not bad.
At first, I thought they were a little weird.
They are a little weird, but I watch anime. I'm not a big gamer, but they read to me like what you would see like a gamer, like some of those high-end gamer chairs, like the colors and then the edges or whatever. It looks like a high-end gaming belt or whatever. Like that, like if we were like in a game convention competing, like that's the belt they would award or something.
You're right about that.
Yeah,
that's a funny comparison.
It's a sick belt, but it's just. It doesn't have the same sort of like pageantry or like effect of the other ones. 'Cause the other one just looks like historical boxing / MMA belts.
Right.
Whereas that one, for some reason, it's just the color is just jarring. Even the BMF belt, as whatever with the giant BMF, still looks more like the traditional boxing MMA belt. I don't get the same vibe that I do, and it must be the black and red. It's probably the black and red, and just which is. You think of it reminds me of like the first early like Michael Jordan's, the Michael Jackson jacket, just edgy, something. But yeah, it feels like it's just different. It just feels different. But I don't mind it. I mean, it's different.
It's growing on me. I'll be honest. Like even the quote unquote new UFC belt.
Yeah.
When it first came out, I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
But I like it now. Now it's like I had no issues.
But
with
if you had to choose between that or the original,
now I think
if you're putting on the mantle, like I do like it how because it feels like they've altered it maybe or something, especially with the gems and the different other stuff. Because I wonder, maybe I would put them side by side if I had a mantle space, and then I'd put the BJJ off to the side a little bit for whatever. But I don't think I would put it center. But
you're
between
right.
the 2 of them, I do kind of actually like the new one. But man, there is something just beautiful about the rounded edges, of the original one.
Yeah.
Just the.
It feels old-fashioned now, though.
It does kind of feel old-fashioned, but maybe there's something. Yeah,
that is a good point, though. If I had the UFC BJJ belt, the quote-unquote old UFC belt, and the new UFC belt, which one do I put in the middle?
Right in the middle, because you figure that's the strongest space. Maybe I would do the newest one, but there's something just wonderful about the original one.
Yeah.
That I almost feel like you'd have to give it for honor space. I figure I would want to put the original traditional. Now I think about it, the traditional original in the center, and then put the new things that have came afterwards on the side, because then it feels like time expanding out,
And the feng shui of it all, the centerpiece would be more simple, where you'd have more colors. But as I was thinking about it in my head, and if I'm being honest, my OCD-ness would probably make me put it in chronological order. Yeah,
I'd have to literally thinking you might do that.
I'd have to put the old one here, so that would mean that the new one would be in the center,
which kind of
simply based on chronology.
Helps to explain it too. And like, this is what it started, this is where it went to, and then look at this.
This is why people tune into the Roadshow. Hardcore
feng shui talk.
All right, listen. So we're going to talk about the UFC. We're going to talk about UFC BJJ brief as well. But I do want to feature the PFL just to start out with, because I did get a chance to speak with new PFL CEO John Martin. I had not had an opportunity to meet him or speak with him before, so this was the first time getting to know him. A shout out to the PFL for offering him up and saying, hey, would the MMA Roadshow be interested in speaking with John Martin? They did ask.
Yes, we would.
They didn't just say John Morgan. They said, how about the Roadshow? I said, you know what? Tip of the cap to you, sir. Tip of the cap to you. I was like, we would absolutely be willing and interested to do that. So I did get a chance to speak to John Martin, and I'll share that with you now. It is PFL CEO John Martin who is overseeing a fantastic event this Saturday, December 13th in Lyon, France. And we'll certainly need to talk about all that. But let's start on a broader note, if we could, Mr. Martin. 5 months on the job already. I don't even know if I can call you the new CEO anymore. It seems like it's flown by, but I just want to ask you, how would you characterize kind of where you are and how the time has gone so far and how things have progressed versus the expectations you had coming in?
Boy, it's I can't believe it's been that long already. It's a little bit baptism by fire, but I mean that in a good way. There's a lot of high energy right now at the company, and it's been everything that I expected and then some. And I've come in, I've had the opportunity to get to know the entire team at the PFL, gotten to know a number of really great, terrific fighters, and we've made a bunch of changes to the format, to the product, and putting together some really bang-up cards leaving this year, going into next year. And I think the announcements we've made already for the beginning of next year are quite exciting. And I look forward to 2026 to be the best year in the history of the PFL. So I'm privileged to be able to lead the company. And I think, there's a lot of momentum right now at PFL.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the great thing about your appointment is that you are a fight guy, right? You are a fan of the sport, not somebody that's just, yes, you have other industry backgrounds, but you're not just bringing that. You're bringing a passion for the sport. So you touch on it, right? Like so many moving parts. You've got the international leagues. You've got upcoming broadcast negotiations. You've got the format changes. So it's tough to tackle all of it. But is there one of those things or one top priority that you've seen thus far that you say, hey, this is what I got to get my hands on first?
I sort of thrive in chaos. And I like feeling energy around me. And this place is slightly chaotic in a good way because I get the feeling that that's what running a global fight promotion is like day to day. So maybe I'm well suited for this. But look, I think, if you're a CEO, I've got to wear a bunch of different hats, right? I am the chief business operating officer, but also I'm involved in the fight side of the game too. And that's the part that really attracted me to this because I am such a fan. And so to be able to sort of help steward a really, really thoughtful 2026 schedule and where, now in the United States for the first time, we're not going to be doing a world tournament. We're actually going to be putting on championship quality fights on every single card that we host in the United States, which is a first for the PFL. I'm really excited about that. I'd like to introduce fans in the U.S. to the highest quality fighters that the PFL has to offer that maybe in the past they haven't seen here. So that's going to be a first, and we're excited about that. And I'll be sitting down with ESPN, who's our partner. We have our last year of our media rights deal with them in 2026, and we'll be talking about what that means going forward for each of us. And so I've got to be able to do the fight side, but I've got to be able to do the business side as well. And the business has to pay the bills. So I like the momentum, though, of where we're at right now. I love the card that we have in Lyon coming up. I love the card that we've announced or we're still in the process of announcing in Dubai. And there'll be other really terrific announcements coming in short order for some of the other locations that we've already announced. So there's a lot of things to be really, really excited about.
Yeah, you talked about the momentum that's there. So a lot of things that you touched on that I want to get to. So first of all, I guess I personally believe that like any successful business operator can't pay too much attention to what their competition is doing. Like you got to keep an eye on it, right? But you got to focus on your product. So with that said, the UFC departs ESPN. I mean, is there a little fist pump in the office like, hey, they just cleared the path for us? Or is it more like, uh-oh, is ESPN still interested in MMA? Or are they getting out of the business entirely? Like, how did you kind of, view that move?
Well, I mean, look, I think we're privileged to have ESPN as our current partner. We obviously, when UFC is their partner too, we were the more junior partner. And now, we have to sit down and begin talking with them. And it's not up to me to tell them how they should look at us. I'm going to be asking them, how they feel about PFL and how they feel about being in the mixed martial arts business. And I hope that, they want to really double down with PFL, because I think we could really help them in many ways. And I look forward to constructive dialogue with them on that front. But what's interesting about the UFC's announcement is with Paramount is now they're going to be exclusive to Paramount for 7 years. So if you have sports ambition in the U.S. and if you want to be in mixed martial arts, I think PFL is potentially a very attractive partner for you. So I hope it's with ESPN. If ESPN determines that they're no longer interested in being in MMA or don't want to be with us, then I think we're going to have the ability to sit down and have constructive dialogue with any number of partners. So my job is to make sure that we land with the best partner who can provide, it's not only more money for rights fees, but who really wants to be in business with us and who wants to help support us and is going to provide us consistent scheduling and then importantly, marketing and promotion to help us grow and build our own brand and grow the category. Similar to what ESPN did for UFC, ESPN is hugely responsible for the value creation that UFC realized. So I think PFL can be, again, without having any marketing or promotion, PFL on average did about 40% of the UFC's audience on ESPN. And that was we had, not consistent scheduling, and we were on ESPN2 a lot versus main ESPN. So look, I think we've got a tremendous product. I think we've got a better product than most people realize in the US. And so it's up to me, the responsibility is on me to demonstrate that. So that's what we intend to do. And that gets to the fun part of the job, which is the fighters and the fights.
No doubt about it. And that kind of lends, I guess, to the format change, right? So as I understand it, the international brands will still have tournaments, right? Because there you're trying to find up-and-coming talent. You're trying to find it, and a tournament is a proven format. In the U.S., it'll be more traditional cards, as we would say, traditional matchmaking. So I guess what was the driving decision, behind making that adjustment? And I guess, was there any concern at all that by doing this, we no longer have a differentiator, right? There's not something that we can say, hey, we're not just like them. We're not, quote unquote, UFC light, right? We're something different. So what was, I guess, the driving force behind it? And was there any concern about making that decision?
I think there was some concern internally when I first showed up. When I showed up, I wanted to move away from the tournament format, but I wanted to not make a hasty decision. I wanted to talk to a lot of people and hear a lot of feedback. And I came in with my own preconditioned opinion from being a fan. But what was interesting is most people inside the company agreed that stepping away, I think there was a lot of consensus that the tournament made a lot of sense up until now. But with the Bellator acquisition now behind us, and when the Bellator acquisition gave PFL a lot of depth in fighter quality, and I think the fighter quality is considerably better at the PFL than most people are aware of. And we have 40% of our global fighters are ranked in the top 25 in their weight class in the world, and that's by independent rankings. So, we've got some of the best, biggest names in the world. I mean, Usman Nurmagomedov, Khodadich was arguably the most sought after female fighter in the world. We still have Francis on our roster. We've got champions. UFC champions that are on our roster. Chris Cyborg is fighting in Lyon. Vadim Nemkov and Adon Ferreira fighting in Lyon. We've got world-class fighters, and I'm dying to bring them to an American audience. And I just decided, I said, I don't think the World Tournament is easy for fans to follow. It's grueling for fighters, by the way, and it's hard if you can't matchmake. So if there's an injury at the end of the tournament, you've got to just make a quick decision and throw somebody else in the tournament. It's an interesting format. In theory, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it was hard practically to pull off. So we're going back to a more traditional format. I think, you tell me, I think the response has been overwhelmingly positive. I mean, most of the fan feedback that we've been hearing, you can't make everybody happy, but most of the feedback has been quite positive. I think internally, our organization is excited and they're really energized by this. And so this is kind of the new PFL that we're unveiling and going forward. I think, UFC is going to be the UFC, but we can make our own course and really elevate our brand and be quite successful.
I love it. Well, you touched on, I think, some of the things that do make it successful. We'll talk about Leon. I had one last question about kind of the overall operating things. Now, listen, I've followed this product since the inception. I've been a fan of it. And one of the things that I've stood pretty firm in, and I don't think maybe sometimes people give it enough credit, is how much success the PFL has had internationally. Like, I would almost say that's been the core success of the product, is to be able to deliver internationally in prime time, local fighters, local broadcast partners, local sponsors, while it is kind of hard to resonate in the United States sometimes because of how powerful the UFC is, right? So I guess first, would you agree with that assessment that the international has kind of led this thing? And was there ever a thought that, like, hey, maybe this U.S. market doesn't really need to be a priority. We could just focus on all these wins that we're having everywhere else around the globe?
Well, you hit on an important point, which is that MMA is global. 85% of the mixed martial arts fans are not in the U.S., but the U.S. is a massive business market and a massive TV market. So I don't think you could be truly a successful global MMA organization by abandoning the U.S. And I don't think that's a smart strategy. And our roster is good enough, I think, to delight fans in the U.S. as well. And that's what we're going to attempt to do. But your point is well taken. If you look outside the U.S., if you look at the events that we've held in Brussels and Belfast and Paris and Nantes and Lyon and Dubai, we're putting sometimes 15, 16, 17,000 people in arenas. And, if you were in the arena, that's a UFC experience. And the fight quality is UFC fight quality. So, okay, I think we really got something here. So I'd like to take that energy and that fan enthusiasm and showcase it in the U.S. and have it be recognized for what it deserves to be. But that responsibility is on us. We have to do that. So that's what our intention is.
Fantastic. Well, we'll look forward to everything that happens in 2026. But right now, it's this Saturday. It's 11 a.m. Eastern time on the ESPN app for ESPN Unlimited subscribers. PFL Lyon, main event, you hit on it. Vadim Nemkov and Alfera, two of the most dangerous heavyweights in the world, inaugural PFL world title. I think the for the outside looking in, it's fun for as long as it lasts. Probably won't last all that terribly long. But this is two of the best heavyweights in the world. So talk about your excitement level and what you're expecting out of this. I think for the moment this was announced, people got pretty excited about it.
I'm really excited. Nemkov is a complete mixed martial artist. He's a former Bellator light heavyweight champ. He's a former Grand Prix champion, which is a grueling tournament. He's beaten Corey Anderson, who's our current light heavyweight champ, and won in the heavyweight category. He's beaten Ryan Bader, ex-UFC. He's fought 10 individuals who have held titles in the past. He's an extraordinary fighter, and he's fighting a monster of a fighter in Hanon. 6'8", 6'9", and knockout power from anywhere if he's standing in front of you. So I think that's going to be a hugely anticipated fight. I'm excited to see it. I can't wait. And then, of course, Chris Cyborg is coming back and fighting, and people have been waiting to see her again for a long time. And, she's arguably the GOAT. She is the GOAT. She's won championships in every organization she's been involved in. She's got ferocious striking capabilities and relentless pressure and a will to stop everybody and anybody who's in front of her. She's got 23 stoppages in her career, but she's fighting a really interesting fighter in Sarah Collins, 6-0, undefeated. Sarah's Australian judo practitioner, won, decisively her last fight. And really is excited about this fight and is fighting, and she's coming in with a lot of confidence. And a confident fighter can upset anybody's prediction as to what's going to happen. So I think, we're finishing this year strong. Those aren't the only two good fights on the card, by the way. The whole card is stacked. And so I'm really excited and proud that these are the cards that the PFL is going to be able to showcase. And that's just the end of this year. And then you look at Dubai, that card is incredibly stacked as well.
Yeah. I'm glad you talked about Chris Cyborg being the GOAT because, listen, I know she lost to Amanda Nunes, so a lot of people right there go, well, Amanda Nunes is the GOAT. But that longevity that Cyborg has put together, you stack it up against that one result, and I don't know. I think you can make the argument that Cyborg, even with that loss to Amanda Nunes, is top. So we know that she's about to wrap it up. And as you said, Sarah Collins, look, she's confident. She's coming in here with some swagger, and there's no guarantees. But do you have an idea of what you want to do with Cyborg over what she has said is the final year of her career? I mean, I know we talked about all you got to worry about. You got a whole bunch of big things to worry about, but you're handling the final year of perhaps the women's GOAT. Do you have goals or plans for her and what you'd like to do over this final year?
Yeah, I mean, look, we don't look past what's immediately in front of us. So let's get through Lyon. Let's see how that goes, and then we'll talk to her. But she's had an extraordinary career, and I know that she's got some wishes in terms of the way she'd like to go out. And so I look forward to engaging with her. And she's been incredibly supportive of the PFL, and we love the reciprocal relationship with her. So I'm hopeful and confident that 2026 will be a terrific year for her. So we'll do what we can.
Awesome. Well, John, it's been great getting to speak with you, man. It's exciting times for the PFL. Like I said, man, I've been a fan of the promotion from the start. You got a lot of good people working over there, both forward-facing, behind the scenes, and it does feel like this is a new era. So I guess last thing I'll just ask you, for maybe fans who've never seen the product before, or maybe they gave it a go previously and they said, it's not for me, like what would be the pitch to say, hey, tune in and see what we're doing now?
We've got some of the best fighters in the world fighting on our cards. Give us a shot. As I said, I mean, we've got, come and watch the heavyweight fight in Lyon is going to be extraordinary. And the same with, the championship fights in Lyon, the card in Dubai. We've got Usman Nurmagomedov. We've got our co-main event there. Two Dagestani undefeated fighters, Ramazan and Shema. These guys are both undefeated. I mean, the co-main is getting billed as being just as good as the main event. And then our third fight on that card is Dakota Ditcheva, who's undefeated, and that's going to be an extraordinary fight. And Dakota really, really wants to go and make a championship run. And so, these are the types of fights that the PFL can put on. This is what our commitment is to the fans, is that come and watch our events, come and watch our cards, and you're going to be delighted. These are great athletes, elite athletes, and we're committed to bringing them to the fans.
Can't say it better than that. John, appreciate the time. We'll be tuning in this Saturday in Lyon, and we'll be paying attention in 2026.
Appreciate you. Bye now.
All right, so that was my first ever conversation with PFL CEO John Martin. Got to be honest, man, I like the guy. You know what I mean? I've always felt myself a pretty decent judge of character. And I don't know, that was, again, my first conversation I'd ever had with him, and he just seems like a guy that has his head on his shoulders, you know what I mean, is not, not saying stuff. I mean, you see so many people come into the sport, and they don't really know the space, they don't really know, and they start saying things, and you're like, come on, man, that feels like buzzwords and like pitch deck type stuff, and here's a guy that clearly gets the sport, understands the space, understands his role. And then, of course, you take his background, and he does have all of the big media company background. Yeah. I don't know. It feels like a good fit to me. I don't know how the whole process got started. And obviously, he was on a media tour, so we didn't have an hour to talk about how did you even end up in this conversation? How did how did your name get on the position available list here or whatever? But I don't know, man. It seems like it's a good guy to be a good spokesman, to guide the company and understands it. So I'm optimistic, man. I'm optimistic.
Yeah. And I mean, you need guys like that. You need somebody that's able to talk to the people and be that face of the company. And, like we've talked before, and people have said, Don is one of these characters that kind of, you either love the dude or you love to hate on the guy.
Right.
And he loves to hate on you back. And and when you're trying to keep growing the brand, you're you can't really be confrontational to everybody just because they say something about your brand that doesn't maybe make you feel good.
Yeah.
You need somebody that can be,
It's tough when it's your baby. And by the way,
and I get that.
Count me in on the people that like Don. I like Don, but I do understand. I see the criticism, and it does get to a point. It's kind of take, and this is totally different, but like Tom Aspinall.
Yep.
I wish Tom Aspinall would just let it go. Bro, you're not gonna. You know what I mean? Dude. You're not. The more you say, the more you just dig yourself into it. And I think Don is found himself in. And then the haters, they just get more and more to latch onto, and more to latch onto. But Don, this is his baby. He took this thing from a concept to where it is.
Yep.
And when people take shots at it, it's hard to just be wow, I got a thick skin, no worries. Like
you're like, no, let's go hard.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And so it is. I think it is smart for Don.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Don, it is your baby. Take a step back.
Take a step back.
Let this man John Martin go out and be the mouthpiece. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you're smart on that.
Let somebody kind of can keep an even keel. You know, that can take constructive criticism, but also, the people that are out there and represent brands and do a really good job. And we've seen multiple, versions of that, even for the UFC. The guys that have a lot of the international guys that just are able to spin it where you're like, man, you gave me some bits, but then you're really good at not telling me what I want to get, but you left me wanting more, and you leave a good taste in people's mouth when they don't feel like, well, man, I never want to deal with that company because that guy, seemed like an asshole or whatever. But yeah, it's important. But man, good for them. But yeah, they seem to find these dudes, and it's interesting because when you look at the company, for somebody that's like, I don't know about the strength of that company, I don't know if they're going to be around. If you're still hiring C-level employees, you must be doing okay, and then if you're trying to double down and make sure that you're strong, you want to bring people in. So, if anything, I mean, to have somebody that's energized to be part of the thing, it certainly bodes well for the PFL because like we've said many, many years, it's good to have players in the game. Like if the sports gets down to the point where it's just the UFC, I think we start seeing eventually, just fatigue within fighters because of the frustrations. Because if you can't make that threshold, what do you do? Then they find other means, and then that's just really bad for the sport. So we want the PFL to be doing.
We do want the PFL to do, and they are in a really interesting position, right? Because and we've talked about, and I was glad I got to ask him that question because we talked about before. Like I've said, like, hey, maybe you just like abandon the United States because you're crushing it elsewhere. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you're filling arenas, you've got local TV deals. Like why don't you just focus on that? And I like what he said there, and it is true. And we kind of mentioned that before that. Well, you this is the biggest market in the United States, and so you want to have a foothold in there. So I get that, but this is really key, man. This time right now with the UFC leaving ESPN, him having the background that he does in marketing and in the media market, I should say, is key because if ESPN decide like this could go one of two ways with ESPN, right? Like ESPN can go like, man, it's a shame we lost MMA, but we are ESPN, and if we pour some fuel on another league, it's gonna create a flame, and we can give it a lot of air and a lot of exposure and all that. Or ESPN can go like, well, we lost the UFC, we're not really interested in the MMA space anymore.
But have you heard talk of ESPN taking over Fight Pass? There seems to be a lot of talk and rumors of them buying the Fight Pass library and taking that over and having the Fight Pass not be a active streaming platform like it is now.
I have heard rumors. I have not heard any substantiated from anybody.
We haven't had a chance to, that could be something next time we see Dana. It won't happen this week. But that could be one of those things to see what the future is. And be interesting to see, if January, if nothing's been said and if we don't see any things, just to ask him about the rumblings. What is the future of UFC Fight Pass? Will it stay?
That's probably a question I won't be asking in a press conference because that would tie in very directly to my future as part of the CFFC.
Well, yes.
You know what I mean? So it'd be a little bit weird for me to ask that in a press conference.
Yeah, that I could see.
But I agree. Now, I know that there is a commitment to Fight Pass, but I have heard, and again, not from anybody internally, but I've heard people externally say that, they're looking for future options of how exactly, which just only makes sense. Where do you go with everything?
Yeah. I mean, you got this UFC, BJJ, and other stuff, like they're coming up with all these other little things that you wonder, but until, it's like one of those things that it's always been a library for me.
Yes.
I do watch some things where I'll put it on for certain particular things, but I don't look at it as an active platform as maybe others have in the past. And when you think about what people are paying for that subscription, so I could see where the future for it is sort of questionable, but I never really thought about it until I started hearing some of these rumors, and I was like, wow, Fight Pass was the thing that they were always trying to have as this potential, platform that they could push things out, and now
I don't see it going away.
Yeah.
I hear people saying it looks like they're going to get rid of Fight Pass. I mean, I can tell you that, we're going to continue to put events on UFC Fight Pass, you know what I mean? But we're not talking about just 2026. We're talking long term.
Yeah.
I just don't see, because as you said, as a library, as a host of an archive, unless somebody, again, if a company wants to come in and pay you $1 billion for your archive, then maybe you go,
see you later.
See you later. Yeah, bye-bye.
Yeah.
But if not, you need a place to keep your archive. And you need a place, like you said, you need your own to have like UFC BJJ on YouTube. That's great.
Yeah.
But you're giving YouTube control of everything, right? Like you still want to have it.
It makes sense to hold on to it and then just offer a license or something to like ESPN or something. Like offer not a subscription, but just like a license to use the stuff and have access to the library, even if it's like what kind of happened now when, a show would happen on ESPN and then 30 days later it migrated over into the Fight Pass.
Right.
Maybe it's the flip side. Now the stuff's on Paramount, but after 30 days it goes into the library and now ESPN can put that content onto its network or something along those lines. If that is in fact what it is. That seems like the better play as opposed to ditch this thing that they've been building. But a lot of people said like, oh, I don't see them purchasing stuff anymore. Or somebody I forget all the rumors they were saying like, if you look back, they haven't actively done anything or whatever. And I'm like, is that true? I was like, but maybe it's just worth checking in. Because I feel like we used to hear Dana talk about it, Fight Pass, like all the time. And I feel like we haven't heard anything substantial about it in a long time.
I think it's interesting too because Fight Pass is different things in different markets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in some places, it's where you get your prelims.
Because maybe it's because of the Brazil. I think it ends at this year, right?
Right. But that's because Paramount came in and said we want the rights in Brazil, and so that's why I don't think Fight Pass ever goes away, right? Like Fight Pass never goes away because you don't have to build from scratch, you don't have to make it over, so you always want to have an alternative. If we don't have a contract here,
where can we put it?
What do we do? We do it here. You know what I mean? So I think that is probably what lends to a little bit of the confusion is that it is different things in different markets. You know what I mean?
I bet you're right.
So anyway. We will find out. Dude, it's part of it. I mean, listen, as you said, a lot of rumors, a lot of, and again, not substantiated information, rumors, but it's because, from my understanding, like they're still figuring out all the details of this thing. Like Paramount came in and swooped this thing so far, like that it's like, oh wait a minute, we didn't talk about this.
Yeah.
Oh wait a minute, we didn't talk about that.
Speaking of, we didn't talk about since the last one about the Paramount trying to put in a bid to overtake the Warner Brothers that Netflix had. Where is it? And then the funny thing, because we talked about we're getting this UFC deal and it's already twice the value of our particular company, or maybe not. I think I did tried to do a valuation search the other day and it tried saying they were worth $14 billion. I was like, I know I did a search like less than a year ago and it was $4 billion. I was like, so where is this coming from, this valuation? Maybe because all of a sudden now they have access to this UFC, the value increased or whatever.
Right.
But now you throw something where they're talking about cash and then taking them some debt, where over $100 billion, you're just like, where is this money coming from? And people started talking about in the publicly listed, much smarter people. When I asked, I put a random tweet about
spinning, bro.
On Twitter, I was like, make the numbers make sense. And some people chimed in and they were talking about, well, wow, they're initially saying the money's coming from Paramount and public facing stuff. But when you look at some of the filings that are actually happening, there is a lot of money coming from places like, I want to say, Qatar, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, some other stuff, Jared Kushner's company, and all this other shit. And you're like, well, he was funded a lot by the money over there in the Middle East. So it's like, as much as they want to do this other stuff, like you got a lot of investment money coming from overseas, coming to buy another big U.S. property, and so a lot of people are like, and it's funny because the Don, who loves, the UFC and other stuff, he even kind of came out and was like, I don't think this should happen because it's putting a lot of power and control in this other stuff, but just makes you wonder, like, what is going on? You thought, just when we think like, wow, this is crazy that Netflix, they didn't throw the money to get the UFC. It goes off to Paramount, but now Paramount is like, wait, no, we want to still throw more money and get this Warner Brothers. I'm like, what is what is going on? And where is this money coming from?
I just want to watch fights, bro.
I know. It's so confusing.
I don't understand it all.
And that's it. It's just
I just like seeing people punch each other in the face.
Right? It's crazy. In a time when I feel like we're paying more for everything, I feel like, man, it's harder to make the days end, just to do whatever. And then you see these numbers that are so astronomically huge that you're just like, how does it even make sense? And how does that value even equate to it? Like, it doesn't make any darn sense, but somehow it's happening and it's an interesting time. But it's just kind of funny that we thought Paramount was making crazy moves trying to just get the UFC and secure that, but this dwarfs that in terms of reach and pennies. It literally is when you think of it.
Like, it's pennies to whatever. $7 billion. Come on, dog. Just $7 billion.
I don't get out of bed for $7 billion.
It's crazy. The numbers are astronomical. Like it literally is hard for me to comprehend how it works and how
how you can gather it together, let alone when your company's not even worth that value. How does that work? And how do they secure their money? If they're willing to invest and put that in there, how do they get their money back if it fails?
That's what I always think about is like, how do you get your money back? Like that's the way I think about things.
Like,
not
rich
just
people
like
don't just throw their money away, or we would have more people taking care of people in our country. But they don't usually, billionaires, I imagine, don't just put their money into things that they're not expecting in return. So when you're doing something like this, when somebody's like, yes, I know my company's only this, but trust me, can you give me like 10 times my company value? Or like, how does that work? And when you got so many people, like, what do you do when it doesn't go right? Who gets first dibs on taking it back or something? It's so crazy. But I guess peon brain like me doesn't understand that stuff. I'm just happy when my shot's in focus, my audio's good. I'm a happy little boy. I'm happy when there's a new ramen spot. I don't understand all this stuff. But that's why I'm always grateful when there are much smarter people out there. And that's the same thing when it comes to a lot of the legal stuff, when people are like, why aren't you asking this? Why aren't you doing this? Because bro, it's outside of my purview. I don't understand it. And this is another one where I understand the brevity and what it means, but I just don't understand how it's functionally possible for some of these things to do. I actually told the guys in the spinning backlick, I was like, we should talk about this. I know, I'm not expecting any of them to be financial guys. I was like, but guys, this is a really big thing. If this starts to go through, even the facts of Netflix getting the Warner Brothers, this sort of stuff doesn't often happen within a generation, like these just big major things that you would never think would merge or would never be bought or whatever switch. But to then have these multiple moves in such a short frame, it doesn't make any sense. It's just kind of confusing, but it is a big move. So I had the guys.
Did they talk about it? Or
they did a little bit. I was just like, what it sort of means, and just like, and again, this is a sport that the Paramount, I feel like, was getting notoriety because they were trying to bring in the UFC brand. They were trying to reach a whole new set of viewership. Now, if you're trying to outbid in a hostile takeover, which is kind of like sexy, and it's just kind of like, oh, what does that even mean? What's a hostile takeover? To outbid Netflix for Warner Brothers and let alone the movie studios, the properties, all these other little things, it's one of those things that while UFC and the MMA, it doesn't get tied to these major things all that often. It's kind of always been this niche thing. But now you have the player that just made a big, huge investment into this UFC, this niche sport, now is trying to grow even bigger and see even more people. It's just kind of, I'm like, hey guys, let's just talk about, because we're kind of just being able to hold on to it. And I was like trying to do an SEO play. I was like, people are going to be searching for a hostile takeover.
Look at you.
And Paramount. I was like, can we talk about this so I can put it in the title?
Brain. What are you talking about, bro?
I was like, I want to be able to put this in the title.
Everybody else playing checkers. You're out here playing SEO chess, bro.
Let's go. And what was the other one besides that? It was the Rock and the Golden Globe nominations, because one of the trending terms, the top 10 trending terms of that day was Golden Globe nominations. Yep. So The Rock was nominated.
That's awesome.
So I put that it was UFC 323, blah, 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 does whatever. And then I was like, Paramount's takeover bid and Rock's Golden Globe nomination or something like that.
Look at you. Look at you. Well done,
I just wanted them to talk about it, but honestly, it was an SEO play.
It's funny you say it, though. Like, I've actually been thinking about this a lot lately with media as a whole, at least in our sport, and not as a whole, because I'm not talking about like mainstream and news and all that stuff, but like in the MMA space, I do feel like so much more media time in the MMA space now is spent covering the business versus the actual like results, the athletes, the prospects, the what, you know what I mean? Like,
I feel like didn't they shit on us though a lot of times when it felt like that was like the stuff we were talking to them, like, why aren't you asking this question?
They do. But,
why aren't you asking this question?
I know, but I wonder is that, and I mean, I'm not even other than this and the other podcasts I do. I mean, I guess that's my media extent right now, so I'm not really involved in it as much. But I wonder if that is because you're right about that. Like I remember people like, why didn't you ask this at the press conference? Why didn't you ask this? And I think number one, first of all, like things like fighter pay, bro, go back 20 years. I've asked about this dozens of times. I don't need to ask because I can give you the answer. I know what the answer is.
I've heard the reverse, rehearsed answer enough times.
I've done it enough times. I know what the answer is. So why don't you ask that question? Because I know it is. But the other thing too is, and you're so right when it comes to like legal type stuff. Like I'm not an expert, so like I could softball the topic out.
Right.
But then when I get an answer back, I have zero idea how to follow up on that, how to take that information, how to know if it's true or not. Where do I pivot from there? I'm not an expert, and I wish somebody that was an expert would come in and do it.
Right.
And they will grant interviews and stuff to people that ask. So that's part of it. But I would hear those things. But I wonder if sometimes, like, are we as media just like catering by doing that to a vocal minority versus like most people just want to watch. You know what I mean? Like for instance, I turn on an NFL game on Sunday. Like I just want to watch the game. Like I don't really care like what the latest television rights discussions are and where I could see a fan might say, well, I do want to know what the television discussions are because I want to know how I find it, like where do I go, like what package I need. But I don't care what the valuation is. I don't care what the long-term play is. I don't care what so I don't know. I wonder sometimes if maybe as media like we have, because I feel like it's and I'm not just criticizing MMA Junkie or MMA Fighting or anything. I do feel like a lot of the media space is really spent just covering the business of the sport versus the sport itself. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Some people might say it's a good thing because, hey, as media, because we would get this a lot too, like you're just doing PR, and it's like, well, I'm not doing PR, but like also I'm like MMA Junkie started as like a site for fans. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just Dan Stupp and Tom and Eric that liked watching The Ultimate Fighter and wanted to have a place for people to talk about it. And that's all it was. You know what I mean? So then people say, well, you have responsibility as media that, you need to be covering fighter pay. You need to be covering business practices. You need to be covering this because you're the watchdog in that space to make sure they're doing the right thing. But I'm like, are we really? Like,
I mean, I can definitely see the point. Because while it's true, like, we have the access and you can ask those things, but it's not like we signed up to be like, by joining this, we must be the watchdog, because at the end of the day, I think there is also value in doing, I guess, the low-hanging fruit. Who won this fight? What were their thoughts going into the fight? What were their thoughts after? Because I'm there. I always consider myself, even when we shot it and when I put on YouTube and people would say, well, do you need to put all those videos? I'm like, well, I'm documenting a piece of history.
That's what
at that time.
I'm documenting the history of a sport.
We're saying who won, who lost. We're talking about little things like this. Is the financial side part of it? Yes. And should it be asked at times? Yes. Does that need to be the only thing? Not unless that's my beat. If I'm a financial guy, I expect that everything I ask, I'm going to be looking for the financial side. But if you are a all-around thing, you cover the all-around thing. But I also know that we have a ton of people that miss events, and they will, man, who won that event? How did that go down?
Yeah.
If everything's an editorial opinion piece and nobody's actually covering just the day-to-day of what actually happened,
who won and lost?
Where do you get that info?
Who performed?
Somebody's got to do that point, But yes, I think while I think a lot of it is probably getting more of the financial stuff because I think enough people have clamored to say, well, what about this? That people are started asking that question. So I think it makes sense. I don't think, I need to, at least for me as a videographer, burden myself with like, oh, am I doing enough financial work for the people that are out there? I'm not looking for that. I'm, again, back to, is my shot in focus? Is my sound good? Can somebody see what took place, whether that be the official weigh-ins, whether that be the post-fight interviews? Am I providing a unbiased, clear view of what actually happened, a piece of history? I always loved, like, with NFL films when they're able to go back and look at a lot of the stuff. There's, you can always go back after the fact and put an editorial spin on what you see, and you can edit it a particular way. But when you hit start and you hit stop and there's nothing in between it and you're documenting and you're showing, I'm taking an unbiased, here's a view, here's a piece of history, this is what happened, the fighter says this, the fighter says that. You could take clips and you could do whatever.
I love when people sift through nuggets of like old interviews and stuff and find like old quotes and stuff that if nobody ever presented the whole thing, how would that be available?
Because even our own outlet, remember USA Today used to always be like, oh, just 2 minutes. We want 2 minutes.
Trim
we're like,
it down. That's all we want.
But like, well, we're going to put the full interview on YouTube. Why? Because that's the full interview. It's an archive. The person thing. That fighter's not going to come back to me and say, why did you only take that little bit? We hear that all the time. We hear it in politics. You hear it everywhere. You took that out of context.
That's why Dana stopped doing scrums.
Yes.
Dana used to do 45 minutes, an hour.
And you take one fucking phrase. He would say, oh, there's your headline. He would literally say it, and people would take that one clip. So we've always had that thing where it's like, if somebody's going to give me an interview, I'm going to put the full thing. Sure, I might cut something from social. I might cut since socials kind of become a thing, we used to just say, I'm going to cut a clip from something, now it's taking different points of distribution. Sure. But yes, I mean, like, I consider that what we need to do, all that little stuff of the who won, who lost, what was this? What were the just statistical points?
Yeah,
Makes
I
a
need
lot
the
of
box
sense.
score. Give me the box score.
Give me the box score. The box score needs to be there. But yes, should there be some financial stuff? There sure should be. But I hope it doesn't get to the point where it's always just about the financials and how is a business being run and how is somebody paying, because then you're not hearing the character stories.
Yes.
You're not getting the stories of the struggle, and why I think most of us fell in love with the sport and the players is hearing the comeuppance. Oh, I was beat down as a kid. I was down on myself, but then I found fitness. I found fighting. I found myself, and it saved my life. Like, how do you make that and put it right next to, oh, hey, the Paramount is making a bid on blah, blah, blah. Like, it doesn't make sense. They're two different audiences and two sort of different sides of the brain. But it is important, I think, for both of those things. But we can only do so much.
I feel like as a whole, the media's gone away from telling the story of the underdog in the first fight of the night, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To now it's just all big picture, big top. And I wonder if that's underserving the audience. I wonder if that's not you know what I mean? Like, is that really what the audience wants? Maybe it's what we as media feel we need to be doing.
Yeah.
But is that really what your readership wants?
I wonder how podcasts and all the opinion guys have grown, because people were looking for that. I think you still want that, as much as there's been a drive to push towards the numbers and the less like intriguing stuff, where people have like, well, I still want to hear this, and people tend like this. The stories are happening, but we're on a podcast.
Yeah.
I feel like people drove more to the podcast, because then you get to hear the opinion, you get to hear the stories that maybe you're not seeing on the site. Because maybe when you do go to the site, you're like, oh, okay, well, now I'm just seeing, who's reffing for this event, who's on the broadcast team. I don't get
the octagon size.
What's the octagon size? Maybe you want to have a little bit more, and so people are going off to. Then now you see these channels on YouTube where most of them would consider they're not really checking sources, they're not doing whatever, but they're giving you stories, they're giving you opinions, and now you're hearing some of this stuff on podcasts. I think that's what's been the rise of podcasts and some of the other random YouTube channels that don't need to be associated with a particular traditional news organization, because they're not doing the typical news stuff, but they're providing a service of giving at least people.
I'll tell you one. I'll tell you one that I'll tell you a story that it angered me the other day in terms of media and journalism. And again, and let me make it painfully clear, I was never somebody that tried to say like, we are this bastion of we are proper journalists. Like, no, we're not. We're covering cage fighting. We're covering dudes in their underwear, right? Yeah. But there are simple journalistic steps, like making sure you at least put in a request for comment, even though you know that I know that Dave Schaller is going to hit me back, or he's not going to hit me back, or Lene Breckenridge now, or whoever. Like, I know I'm either going to get no comment at this time, or I'm just not going to hear anything. But you still have a responsibility to reach out to comment, and that's how you earn their respect, because you at least gave them an opportunity to comment. And they can't come out and they will never criticize a story that you gave them a chance to respond to. They'll criticize a story that you didn't give them a chance to respond to, and they'll be like, hey, and it's fair, even though you could be like, I've texted you 100 times and you've never answered me once. The one time you don't, they can attack you and they can be like, you didn't give me a chance to respond to that, and they'd be fair. But this is the one that bugged me. The Donald Trump comments about that there's going to be 9 title fights, and I saw every media outlet in the world run with that. Did anybody ask the UFC?
Ask the UFC.
Like, Donald Trump has said, like, since when do we start using Donald Trump as a source about the? And I understand that you could say, well, we use him as a source because
that came
it's
out
the White House
after the pay-per-view, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it wasn't like
nobody could ask him there, because I think it came out like on Sunday or Monday. So it came out after. So nobody got there. But that one bugged me because I saw everybody ran with it. And don't you just? I mean, and again, I could see somebody say, well, we sourced Donald Trump because Donald Trump is the president and they are hosting the UFC, and so he becomes a proper source because of the correlation.
The position of authority.
Right. But I don't think so. I think you call the UFC, because
you would certainly at least attempt, make a note as like, I've reached to the UFC for comment and haven't heard anything back.
I didn't.
And even the fact of even outside of that, asking, if there's always two sides of the story. So you're supposed to ask both sides and at least say that you cited both sides or you tried, but also just citing sources. It's easy to hear something and say, oh man, well, I heard this and this is happening. You're like, wow, that's cool that you got that info. Like, you just manifested that? You happen to know? Like, oh, no. I saw the report on blah, blah, blah. Like, even just doing that gives you a step towards more of what is like real journalism, or at least being a real outlet, or or even just being respectful of the fact that somebody did the legwork. Cite your sources. Say something,
100%.
And it's so easy for people like, well, I get my news from so-and-so guy on YouTube. oh yeah, he just sits in his home in another country but somehow gets this info. And it's like he should be deciding who he's getting from, and you should be questioning these people. Well, while I like your personality, well, I think you're great. Like, who are you finding that info from?
Yep.
At least if you really need to, or if at least you're going to try to write something on it. Like, don't cite random guy that hasn't even told you where he's got this stuff, because then you're just setting yourself up to fail.
When you find out that it was wrong.
When you're considered a real outlet or whatever, and then you're wrong, and somebody says, well, whered you even get that info? Oh, well,
I saw
it on the internet, so it must have been true. That always works out well.
All right, listen real quick. One thing in the non-box score, non-results things, an SAC meeting next week, Isaac Bulgarian set to be addressed, but it just is a hearing on the extension of temporary suspension. So if you happen to see his name, I don't expect resolution. It's just, I think they'll just...
Yeah, because even at the last one, they wouldn't tell me whether he was paid or not, because that was supposed to be on the docket. They were just like, it's been handled, and then they were trying to say you need an Information Act on it or whatever, but that one will be there.
If you ever, and the SEC, by the way, Nevada State Athletic Commission, they post all this online. So even if you're not on the mailing list or whatever, you don't have to be. It's a public document. But if you ever want to see it, I think it's nssac.org, right, if I believe, or something like that. But if you see this hearing on extension of temporary suspension, when you see that, that's when they're just going to say, hey, we don't have time to address at this meeting. Can we extend his suspension until the next month? But they have to formally request that just to give themselves more time to address it. I don't know that next month it'll be resolved, but anyway, I don't expect to see anything there. The other thing that you see is hearing on disciplinary complaint, or in the alternative, hearing on proposed adjudication agreement. That's when you expect to see a resolution or a settlement, is that either A, they will discuss the merits of the case and make their decision, or in most cases we see these days, they've basically already kind of negotiated everything and they just present the terms, and that's that. So I wanted to put that out. And then I wanted to get to the most important thing. We've talked a lot about a lot of things today, but there's really only one thing that matters, and that is there's 1 week of MMA Junkie staff picks left. And I believe my man Cole Coffey has a 3-pick lead going in. 3-pick lead over Nolan King, the great Nolan King.
Who's probably listening to this. Thank you, Nolan.
Nolan's the man. I'm a big Nolan King fan. He's 3 picks. I'm a big Nolan King fan, but not on Saturday night. You see what I'm saying? Not on Saturday night. I'm a big Cole Coffey guy going for his fourth championship,
and
when nobody else has 2.
Nobody's got the second.
Nobody.
So this would be the first time back-to-back if it happens. We haven't had a back-to-back yet.
I mean, come on, bro. We're talking about this is legacy right here, bro. We're talking about building a picks dynasty, right?
This is my walk-off year. I retire after this year.
Maybe you roll with a guy like Luca Fury for your picks, or maybe you roll with a guy like Dan Tom for your picks. They're all expert analysis options. But, really what you need to do is just tail Cole Coffey. He's putting in the work. He's watching the tape. He is spending seconds.
That's how I know about Fight Pass, because I'm always seconds.
My man invests
That's clever.
seconds a week in putting his picks together.
So much time. The time it takes 3 blinks. I might have all my research done.
It is funny because I think we figured out the other day I picked it like 63-point-something% over the course of 10 years,
good.
which is good. But literally, because I know me and you were the same. Like, I literally would just get the picks and I'd be like, fighter A, fighter B, fighter A, fighter B. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like, let me go rewatch this real quick.
Let me go back.
Hold on. Let me
pull up those last.
I gotta watch that round 2 again when he fought the other southpaw. When he fought, no, I'm just like, I just picked my. But even laughs aside and jokes aside, for there never to have been even a 2-time winner, and you're going
which is
for
crazy.
4.
Yeah, I think the year that Simon got me. When we did the partial year, which would have been my other one, I think that would have been a back-to-back, but then that got
So were it not for a technicality, this would be championship number 5?
Yeah.
Damn. Cold coffee picks.
Because I remember when I was going for the third, I remember one time, and I loved it, because I don't talk shit on the channel, but I love when Erickson will bring some up, and he was one of the things was like, if not for or whatever, he's like, Kenny Hardy would have been a 3-time champion. I was like, Good man.
I'm glad
I was like,
you
checks
remember.
in the mail, dog. Thanks for saying that. But yeah, it's still, there could always be something. We just had a fight change, so that's another big addition that we had switched with the King Green. And was it Jacob Lewis Jr.? I'm doing that off the top of my head memory real quick. Is it Jacob Lewis? Lance Gibson, not even close, but I got the junior part right.
I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I knew it was a name named Junior. So, all right. Junior, Lance Gibson. So that's another one that just got added on. So there's the potential there. But if it all works out, hoping to maybe sneak away with maybe a one-stroke victory. But it is against me and Nolan going for it. But yeah, dude, this will be funny. This will be fun and be nice. Again, but yeah, I don't do the crazy research or whatever. But dude, even going back in your thing, because I think I'm right around the same one where it's like upwards of 60%, which is pretty darn solid. But it's funny because every time I can't just like throw down money and be like, I'm gonna put this one fight, I'm gonna put $50. I'm like, I'll put $2 on an 8-pick parlay, and it never works. So as much as I've like, oh, I got this, I can't not do like stupid parlays because then I don't feel like it's I don't feel like I'm doing anything bad. If somebody's are you gambling on the sport? I'm like, yeah, man, I got like 8-pick parlays because then you try to balance it. But dude, I don't throw money at this thing or whatever. But it does feel good to be at like 60. But I will tell you, every time I look at like the reader picks and people that are listening to this that I know do probably put in the submissions. The readers are solid too. The readers are always like if they were in the running with us are like number 2, number 3 as well. Like they're solid above like probably 60, which is very educated.
Does Matt Erickson keep a running tally of the reader picks?
That I don't know.
I don't know if he does or not. That would be interesting to see.
You always see it, but I know most of the years when I pay attention, the people that have won, the winners have always beat the fans, but the fans are close. Like they're really, really good. Like when I see them release it, I look at what the fans, I'm like, okay, was that completely out of left field? When I look at it, I'm like, okay, no, they're good. And it's not often that they don't pick. So the fans that at least the guys that go to Junkie are very, very smart and are usually have their thing. But that's the thing. I doubt that. Some of them probably are going back and watching fights because there are a lot of people that really do that stuff. But no, it's always been a gut. For us, just seeing them. And that's been the great thing. And if people said, well, what's your secret? The secret's that we just sit in front of these people hundreds of times that you can read little nuances. And then at the end, it just goes to your gut feel, like how did they perform before, how they do whatever. It's so funny because even if you're like, oh, well, I look at the stats, because I do look at their age. I do look at their reach. I do look at their height difference. But at the end of the day, it's a fist fight. And all that goes out the window.
All of it.
Because you're like, oh, that guy's got an 8-inch reach. He's the guaranteed winner. And then the short dude goes in there and just close the distance and smash. This is MMA. This is not
That's what
baseball.
we love about it. That's what we love about it.
It's all those little variables, and it's a puncher's chance. It's so crazy. You could be the most analytical mind and study for hours and hours and have somebody go out and have an upset stomach that you don't know about or just had a bad warm-up and you don't get warmed up, and then you're like, man, they were just off.
Yep.
No stat will show you when somebody shows up and they just have an off night. None of that shows out in the stats in the past fights unless they're a serial have bad nighter, and then those people don't last.
And it happens in the sport, though.
It does happen.
You have random off nights or whatever.
And that's the crazy thing about it. But interesting, but I'm glad, man, this weekend was tough because we picked PFL as well, and PFL's always the ones I see the UFC fighters. I see them in front of us.
You're here covering it every week.
Every week. Yep. But with the PFL, I'm like, shoot.
You're watching from a distance.
I feel, that's it. And that's a big difference, So pretty solid. But again, going back to that card, amazing cards. It was cool, but there was a lot of uniformity when it came to the PFL picks on this particular one. Because
everybody went Nemkov?
Yes. Yeah. I want to say everybody, which is crazy because Vaya has crazy power.
I had to break down Nemkov ahead for Cloudbet, and I went Nemkov. And I said the same thing because now I will say this. If you do want to throw a couple bucks on Fajeda by knockout,
it's not a bad play.
Because he's a big
knockout in the first round.
He's a big underdog. But Nemkov's just the better fighter.
Yeah, I mean because he's taken strikes. I mean, like Faye's got the power to knock him the F out, but Nemkov is smart, and if he gets it and he takes the fight deep, I mean,
yeah,
it's a no-brainer.
He can get clipped, but
he can get clipped.
But Hennon's if at like plus 340, like not bad. Cyborg, obviously, you went with Cyborg as well.
Yeah, I mean, till Cyborg stops. I mean, like I think I picked that first Cyborg Nunes. I clearly picked Cyborg, and then I was like, okay, now I'm gonna start picking Nunes. You know, but that's a different thing. But yeah, Cyborg for the most part.
That was another thing too, and obviously we didn't get to get into it a lot, but I do. When I was talking with John Martin about Cyborg being the all-time great, like I really do think it's an interesting argument. Like Amanda Nunes has the head. I mean, they're clearly in discussion. If you talk about the women's GOAT, they're clearly in the discussion, right? And the easy discussion is 1-1 when they fought head-to-head, so she's clearly the GOAT. But I mean, decade at the top. I mean, you know what I mean? So
the fact that when we were initially talking like GOATs and people were thinking about like, oh, you got to go back to the history. You know, people look at like GSP, Anderson Silva. A lot of people now want to just think of the people that are just this super newer, more recent active fighters. Cyborg was like the ones that you think about back in the day. Like she's been the pioneer for the sport, but she's also been the GOAT forever, and she's still actively just destroying folks. I mean, 28-2, and has been active since, let's see, her first professional on the Tapology going back to 2005.
That's crazy, man.
2005, dude.
20 years.
That's ridiculous. That is, regardless of how the head-to-head happened. I mean, you got a Cyborg that was still a dominant, which she still is now, but it was not the Cyborg of old. I mean, like, she's still amazing. And we always said that the Cyborg, when she was starting to the point where people are going to beat her, it was when Cyborg, her body was starting to defeat her herself. It just wasn't the same. She's not as strong, but she still is able to do it. So, I mean, how can you not call her the GOAT? 20 years of being she wasn't at the top of the game for 20 years, but being in the game for 20 years and the last decade plus, she's been at the top of the game.
All the titles and all different organizations.
Ridiculous.
It's crazy. It's a fun discussion. Like, again, if literally you want to stand across from the table from me, and I'm not saying that I don't know. I think even me, I'm conflicted within myself. But if you want to stand across from the table from me and say, John, stop talking. They fought. Amanda won. She's the GOAT. Then I go, all right. You're right. I can't argue with that. You know what I mean? But I think the discussion is fun.
But if you say like, okay, performance is one thing, but in the terms of the GOAT of like who helped grow the sport, who has meant more, I think, for the sport long term, in my eyes, Cyborg.
It's clearly Cyborg.
It's just how you sort of justify it. But yes, you can never take away the head-to-head. If somebody just said, if I pick you from right now or when you put them opposite, that happened in this one. So it's hard to discount that. But in terms of, I love Amanda Nunes, but in terms of like who's helped grow the MMA sport, it's not even in the same ballpark.
I agree.
That's a great point. She's been in the sport since the sport's already been going, and she rode the popularity of MMA when it was already big.
Yep.
I mean, granted, she did her time in Invicta. I got the posters on the wall in there. But in terms of who knocked that door open, and that's why you can't discredit what Ronda did for the sport.
Definitely.
Ronda helped push it. But in terms of like what I consider somebody that really helped just propel the sport forward, you cannot surpass like what Cyborg did for women's MMA.
Yeah, you talk about Ronda, you talk about Nunes, their windows were small.
Yep.
Right? And Cyborg's window started before them and continues after them.
It's still
you know what I mean?
It's so ridiculous.
It's nuts. So you
got to give her respect.
I'm a fan. All right, let's run through these UFC picks real quick. Brandon Royval, Manel Kopp.
I went Mr. Cape.
Did you, Mr. Cape?
I went, and that's as crazy as that is. I don't know. I think he's just fighting on a really good level. I think he's got good power. But Brandon Royval has every capability of going out there and doing his thing. He's tough as nails. But between the two of them, my gut, I went Manel.
I love this fight, and I hate this fight because it's two of my favorite guys in the flyweight division. Yep. So I love that they're fighting, but I hate that one of them's going to have to lose. I would go Manel Kopp or Mr. Cape, as you said, as well. Yeah. I was a little bit surprised to see how big of a favorite he is in the betting odds.
It's a little strange.
I was a little surprised to see that. Although here we are, there's two of us saying we'd pick it. So
yeah, and it's kind of interesting that one where you want to do if there is the potential of a contender thing. I don't think anybody's clamoring for a Royval versus Vian fight anytime soon. You know, but Kopp is like fresh and like it's invigorating for the division.
Agreed. Giga Chikadze, Kevin Vallejos.
Boy, Vallejos. I'm Giga is so cool to see, and I learned something new about his. I asked him about his Instagram thing. I didn't realize that his loss of his mother to cancer, and then they went on and created the foundation, and they do a lot of good shit. So
because his Instagram is Knockout Cancer.
Knockout Cancer.
Like there's nothing about Giga. There's nothing about Chikadze. It's literally Knockout Cancer.
And I didn't realize how far back because I tried scrolling back, and I was like, "Where's the genesis of this? Why is it this?" But it came after the loss of his mother, and they had a great story. And he's like, "I don't really talk about it often."
He doesn't,
but he takes a portion of every bit of his fight card or his fight pay, and it pushes towards this thing, and then people are able to solicit the foundation and get help or do whatever, and then they make sure they vet the people because they said in the past they've been kind of scammed over a little bit. But and he's getting ready to open up Giga Kick in gym in January. He's opening up a kickboxing / MMA gym that he's very, very excited about. So all that said, I was like, man, what a good dude. You love to see him. But I went the opposite way, man. Vicios is a beast right now. But that's another one when you look at – he's a short dude fighting a taller guy that has, I want to say, it's a 6-inch reach. I think it's not 8. I want to say 6. And you're like, oh, that's got to go the kickboxer route. But when you look at who's a huge favorite, Kevin's a huge favorite in this one. So I did lean that. The kid's he's a stud, man. Argentina, he's ready to just rep that flag and do his thing, man.
You laid it out. Giga is such a nice dude.
Such a good dude.
A good dude. Behind the scenes, he is. But man, this was another matchup that I kind of hated to see because Vallejos looks like the real deal right now, man. He looks big. Cesar Almeida and Cesare Oleksiejczuk.
Cesare. I made sure to look up. I went Cesare.
Cesare Oleksiejczuk.
Even though Cesar Almeida, man, when he was there, he's been working on his English so much. So we were waiting for Fabiano. He's like, I want to wait for a translator. We're like, all right, cool. Yeah. And then there was only a couple times where Fabiano repeated the question for clarity, and sometimes I think he just did it just to do it in Portuguese, but he always answered back in English, and he was just so nice to see it. Now I love it when they're like, sorry about my English. We're like, bro, you did the whole interview in English. Like, good job. Like, you deserve credit for it. But Cesare, man, we saw them both. It's interesting. Both guys came from the Contenders, but we just saw Cesare on the Contenders, man, and it was super, super impressive performance. But yeah, I went Cesare, but man, I would not be sad if Cesar went out there and gets a win because he's just such a nice, likable dude.
And you guys went 6 deep on your picks?
Yeah.
So Charrier and Costa?
This is the one. Man,
I'm so torn on this one.
I've been riding Costa the last 2 or 3 picks, and I don't know why my brain just kept telling me that Charrier had more when it came to wrestling skills or ground game, and that could be absolutely bonkers and wrong. I could be putting somebody else's remembrance of fights on him. But I did leave Charrier in this, and I think everybody else on our team, for the most part, picked Costa, and I don't mind. This is one I think where I'm going to give one back to Nolan, probably because I think most of the team went Costa on it. And
I'm torn, though. I like Charrier as well.
I know, but man, I have a feeling that Brazilians might do well in this card. Which would mean that Cesar will win the one, but
does that mean that Marcus Buchecha is going to be Canadian?
I did pick Buchecha.
I like that. I actually like that pick too, to be honest.
Is that the one I reached out to you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love Kennedy. I love Fortis. I can't say enough nice things about this dude, but he still leaves my head shaking.
Yeah,
after
the human being that he is incredible, and the physical size to him. But the implementation of it isn't always there.
The killer instinct doesn't kick in.
Yeah, it's not always there, I don't think. And you're right. We were talking about this one. See, I'll be honest with you. When Buchecha came in, and so Mick Maynard, who handles the heavyweights, he's a huge BJJ fan. You know what I mean? So I'm sure he was excited to bring Marcus Buchecha in. Because Buchecha being a legend. Yep. And then they came up with that matchup with Martin Boudet, which I thought was a horrible matchup for Buchecha in his debut, and obviously it turned out to be that way. Yep. This feels like more of a matchup that I thought they would have given. I think this is styles make fights. I think stylistically, if the only thing you ever saw of Buchecha, if you never watched one championship, you never watched his grappling accolades, and the only thing you ever saw was his debut, I could see that it would be really easy to be like, this dude sucks, I'm picking. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But he doesn't, and I think stylistically this one favors him. So I like Buchecha here too.
Yeah, I mean, I hope Kennedy and those guys have been nonstop drilling takedown defense. I mean, we saw that Walter Walker fight was just ridiculous, but that's Walker's been doing that for everybody.
Yep.
And like the way he gets into those heel hook positions somehow from nowhere is just crazy. But Kennedy's one of those guys that has hands, he has reach. If he can throw it and he can do some damage, is great. But I hope he's been drilling nonstop takedown defense, because if he gets taken down, he's shown to have issues in the past and of not getting back up. So I hope for his sake, because I like him, I want to see him to stick around in the UFC. But you have too many like losses where it shows that you have a big hole in your game. The UFC doesn't keep guys like that, and I want Kennedy to stick around. But yeah, I did lean Buchecha. I think he's going to be able to get the fight to the ground, and I think that's what's going to get him the one. But my heart is sad because I want to lean Kennedy, but I went Buchecha.
Yeah, and we're big Fortis MMA homers.
Yeah, so. I hate picking against him every time. And then the last one, or at least in the last main card, they added when the King Green lost his fight and they brought in Lance Gibson Jr. I don't know why I went Lance Gibson Jr.
Oh.
Because I love Bobby, but I just feel like the Bobby that we're getting now is not, well, he's not even Bobby.
He's King. We're not even getting Bobby Green.
I want Bobby Green to come back.
That's funny. That's funny. I'm with you. King Green's the best, man. He's so fun to watch fight,
and he's hilarious on fight week. It's too bad we didn't get to see him bring his stack of cash, and coming out with his grill and just chilling.
He's great, man.
Yeah,
I love him in media days.
He's another dude that we've been watching. I've been shooting him since when he was with Strikeforce.
Yep.
When I first came on with UFC and they were still doing the Strikeforce and all that other stuff. I remember riding in a bus with him, thinking like, man, this kid's cool, man. And then to think that this many years later, still getting to see him on fight weeks and stuff. So it always breaks my heart. You
got to see him behind. I mean, not that he's not a different guy behind the scenes. You just get to see more of him, right? Because in front of the scenes, he's just responding to the questions. But he is the kind of dude that absolutely just captivates a room, right? Like he can just have everybody's attention and cracking up and enjoying themselves, man.
Yeah, and that was what was back when staff, when you're riding on shuttles and stuff with these guys, and you get to see it, and you get to kind of get to see a little bit of their personalities that you don't normally get to see on the fight week and stuff. And he's a guy I've always loved. Bobby Green, man, he's been a great fighter, but man, he's had a rough patch, but he's had some big tough fights. And honestly, maybe I'm putting it out there in the universe. Make me lose a pick here, Bobby. Show up, King Green. Whip Lance Gibson's ass and then get that win, because the last thing we want to see is a third loss in a row for Bobby. That might be the end of it.
Dude, I don't know why this flashed in my head, random, the way the brain works, but when you're talking about like just riding on a bus, and I all of a sudden I had this memory of being in Brazil and riding on a bus with like prime vintage champ Junior Dos Santos, like badass of the world. And he's singing Katy Perry at the top of his lungs, dude. I'm just like, what is going on, dude? He's like, well, that's how I learned English, man. I was like, oh, okay.
That's incredible.
Pretty funny.
And that's the best part about being in this sport. And we've joked and laughed about it a lot of times. Like until something just sparks that neuron in your brain and then reminds you of stuff, there's a lot of really, really cool gems like that I'm glad that from time to time we're still blessed enough to be reminded upon, and that I'm sure has been one of the ones like, I'll never forget. You just made me think about just a random other Brazil bus trip when we were riding from the host hotel to go into one of the venues, and I remember the driver, they were crazy drivers. He was wearing gloves and he was speeding through whatever. And the car in front of us stopped really quickly because there was somebody trying to go across the street. And I remember we ended up slowing down, but we still bumped the car. The driver gets out of the car. I was like, oh shit, it's about to happen. But the guy of the car that he bumped into, he turned around and it was fucking Jacare in the car in front of us. I was like, what are the freaking chances of this? I was like, this is amazing. But yes, there's been so many fun like on the bus ones. But that one, whenever somebody says something about a bus or a shuttle in Brazil, that one always pops in my head, and I just chuck about it.
The bus driver just making sure your car was good. Just want to check and make sure I'm hopping back in now.
Oh my god! I was like, bro, he's about to take your neck. I was like,
oh, that's great.
So many good stories.
Did he get out of the car and do a little alligator walk out of the?
No, because he immediately got out and saw that it was like one of the shuttle buses, and they had like the sticker in the front. And he was just like, he came this exasperated, bro, I get it, but I'm sure everybody.
Did he do this? He was like, just doing the alligator child, like,
and then just do the knife over the neck thing. You get one of those.
Oh,
but no, it was funny. But yeah, I'll never forget that. I remember I was just like, that was kind of crazy how that played out.
That's hilarious. All right, well, listen, my phone's blowing up. I know your chat's blowing up. We got some work to do. So, been fun chatting. It's going to be a big weekend. Like I said, check out UFC BJJ tonight if you're hearing this on Thursday. If not, maybe catch the replay. It looks like it'll be a lot of fun. And then you got PFL and UFC on Saturday. And then, of course, we will have a little bit of a break over the next 5 weeks. But we're always going to find some stuff to talk about.
Not a break from this.
And we got CFSC, so we're going to keep you busy with all that. So, yeah, we'll keep you entertained. The roadshow never stops. Thanks for listening.